Welcome to another episode of The New Dad Rock.
Welcome to another episode of The New Dad Rock.
Hey, did you see that they're having another record store day again? I feel like they just had one, didn't they?
Dude, I thought that was like one a year or something. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so usually record store day is in April, and then there's record store day Black Friday, which is Black Friday, but we're going to set that aside for now.
Wait, so there's only once a year was record store day before?
It's kind of sort of two. It's record store day, and then there's Black Friday record store day, which is a little bit smaller, but still kind of the same thing. But
okay,
so it takes place in April, and April was the height of when we were believing that believing that COVID was a thing.
Dude, no, when we were starting the idea of the New Dad Rock.
That's exactly when the fermentation happened. So record store day is in April. It's canceled.
Why'd they cancel it?
Because of COVID, dude. They didn't really cancel it, though,
Yeah.
because all these records were, like, made and ready to go, and they still were, like, wanted to make a big deal of it. So it got pushed to 3 socially distanced record store days. End of August, a couple weeks ago. Coming up this Saturday, the 26th. Another one in October. And then picking up what we said before, there's also a Black Friday record store day. So that's going to be November. So there's 4 months in a row where there's record store day. So it's kind of exciting for people who like records.
Wait, hold on. And by records, I just want to clarify. You mean like vinyl records, right?
Yeah, vinyl.
That's what
vinyl
records.
It's kind of
Vinyl. So
it's kind of a
physical
thing.
format.
Yes, a physical
Yeah,
format.
totally is. Dude, saw the other day that, like, I think I'm going to say mid-90s. This is the first year vinyl sales have surpassed compact disc sales since, like, mid-90s, like 95, 96. Isn't that awesome?
It is. It is exciting, and it kind of makes sense, and in a way it doesn't.
Well,
I'm happy to partake in it because it's nice to have a physical thing. Like tonight, eating dinner, I wanted some music on in the background, and you can play any song you want on your phone. And instead I said, I'm going to throw on a record, and I put on Morphine Good. And it was just fantastic to listen to an album.
So it was good.
It was definitely good. But it slows you down. And that's the thing. In this crazy world, it slows you down.
No pun intended. You don't think about Neutral Milk Hotel as a song. It's an album. You have to put it down. I like that you have to pick an A and a B side. Like the fact it's time constrained. The physical format of the vinyl record that constrains the time and like makes you mostly play it in a row is awesome.
Right. And the whole thing with vinyl, you can skip ahead to the next song. You can see where the groove is, but you're kind of committed to that side of the record. Wherever you drop the needle, you're committed to the rest of it. So the challenge is finding a record where every side you want to hear all the songs.
When I first got to San Francisco and I heard electronic music, it was house music, I think. We're talking mid-90s. People weren't building albums of electronic music. They were taking existing songs and trying to sound scrape them, like take off the highs, the lows, make the middles bigger or whatever, and like change the tempos and put these different pieces of songs together.
Right.
Well, hip-hop was doing that too, right? And so amazing that they use vinyl to do it.
Yeah, well, I think the vinyl resurgence over the last decade, 15 years, has been about the pendulum swinging the other way from that, where they were deconstructing and taking segments here, and you'd think about songs, your MP3s, picking up things up on Napster or wherever you found it on the internet. You thought about it in a song or even a 30-second clip of a song. And now the interest in albums, I think, is the pendulum swinging back, where you have to focus on the whole piece.
So I always make fun of, or you always make fun of me saying I listen on Tidal, but that guy Neil Young, he talks about his format, which is like a digital format that is totally like you can hear everything. And people talk about different speakers and headphones and stereos and CDs and digital quantifying sound. Like, my ears aren't that good. I don't I don't hear the difference in the sound, but like, is vinyl a different sound? Like, or how is it a different sound than not vinyl, like digital?
Well, there's automatically a different decay, but I feel like you can hear the separation between the different channels and the different tracks, whereas digital, it usually flattens all the highs and lows out. So I think you get more
okay.
of that. And then there is the natural imperfections of the record and the needle and the friction that happens between there. You have to adjust your speakers or your system to it, and it's part of the charm. It's, while it's physical and you can have it and hold it, it's not necessarily everlasting.
Yeah, it sounds like it's an acoustic instrument, like anyone who's had a violin or a guitar or a piano or whatever.
It's certainly more dynamic, whatever instruments you use, whether it's piano or a saxophone or guitars. So Record Store Day started back in 2008. It was kind of a way to get people back interested in stores. And, vinyl collecting, these things are pressed. They're physically pressed. There's only so much wax. They only print so many at a time, a couple hundred, a couple thousand. You get that pressing and that's it. The next one is going to be different. So there are a lot of rare things that you can find on record, and that's what Record Store Day kind of was. And it started back, like I said, back in 2008. I think there were only 10 special releases that day. It was like Death Cab for Cutie, REM, Vampire Weekend. Our favorite Stephen Malkmus had a Cold Sun 10-inch, which now that I found out that exists, I kind of want it.
Is it a different song or just?
It's Cold Sun, and I love the 10-inch record format. I just love the size.
Me too.
It's two songs on each side, and it goes back to what I was saying before about you want to have a perfect side. Hey, when there's only two songs, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna hit on those. So I do love that 10-inch record format. But 2008, 10 special releases, US, UK. There were something like 300 stores participated. And it was a hit. It got people talking, and those are rare releases. And like I said, here I am 12 years later talking about, I kind of want that record. That sounds really cool. 2009, the next year, they had 85 releases come out, in-store appearances by huge bands like Tom Waits, Wilco, Slayer. 85 different releases, like I said. So it's starting to gain some steam. It's getting picked up, and it's really interesting.
Wait, how'd you get into this?
So, I've always followed music blogs and paid attention to what's going on in music. Mm-hmm. And over the years, as more and more releases come out, there would be like these cool things that I'd want to put out. So I don't know if you remember, obviously you remember, Pavement put out a greatest hits album. It was called Quarantine the Past.
Yeah.
So for Record Store Day, they had an alternate track listing, 4 sides of Pavement's greatest hits, totally alternate track listing. And I was like, that sounds awesome. Of course.
Wait, so by track listing, you mean ordering and or inclusion of songs?
It's a totally different set of 20 other songs.
Yeah, I see. That's cool. I see. So this was about this physical entity is about exclusivity in a lot of ways. Because with digital now, the minute it's online, anyone can possibly have it. So Record Store Day is about these opportunities to get really cool shit that no one else can get, right?
In some regards, sometimes it's an early release pressing. So like
fun
a year
too.
or two
That's
ago,
fun. Oh yeah,
Flaming Lips put out their album for Record Store Day. So there were a couple thousand printed, but it didn't really come out until maybe 3-4 months later. And it might have been another
That's
mix
perfect.
or something.
Oh my god! Even a couple weeks later is cool. That's really fun. You get to get the cool vinyl. It sounds better. It's unique to have. It's fun to hold, and you're playing the songs before most people heard them. Awesome. Yeah,
and different bands have different experiences. I always feel like Jimi Hendrix has something coming out on Record Store Day. It's usually some weird 7-inch. Other bands that have been pretty good about it were, Stephen Malkmus did a few things. The Afghan Wigs did a Gentleman at 21, so it was their Gentleman album 21 years later, so I guess it was 2014, and it was the full album, and then it was outtakes and B-sides, etc. It was three records, 6 sides, and I was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Wait a minute, how can I hear this? Wait, can I hear this?
Well,
how do I hear this?
I can't? It's been since on the streaming services. A couple years later, it did make its way up there.
Yeah. Good. Okay.
Flaming Lips, who I mentioned on another Record Store Day, it was called a live version or a live show. It wasn't really a live show, but it was a bunch of songs from their most recent album kind of redone, kind of live-ish.
live-ish? Like they played in front of 20 people? What's live-ish mean?
They were probably in a studio. Yeah, there were probably like 20 people there, and I would imagine
That's awesome. That's live-ish.
I imagine there's some
That's
overdubs.
Great. Oh, I don't mind the overdubs. I'm just curious, like.
But
they could play.
Yeah, but it's
in front of thousands of people and overdubbed. Okay.
But they did. It was unique to that, and then there are other things. Like we always talk about albums from the 90s. In the middle of the 90s, that's when vinyl sales really went down. Most of the albums that we knew and loved didn't even come out on vinyl.
Well, think about this. Okay, so there's a certain amount of records and record buying and record distribution.
Right.
We talked about vinyl records from electronic music, and we talked about like different indie rock like albums. Like people are only buying so many albums. Like they're changing their buying patterns at some point. Like the people who are just getting music might not be buying the rock music so much. Start buying the electronic music, and then you have more of that music going on. But the electronic music, like I lived through it, and I just can't comprehend the change, the fundamental change that really changed from vinyl music to CDs and then back again.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and I would throw cassettes in there as well, and not even 8-tracks, but very short-lived medium.
Yeah, totally.
From vinyl to CD, I guess CD was the next best. Like 8-track and cassette only lasted a few years, and they had their limitations. They degraded a lot faster.
CDs did good for 25 years, I think. The fact vinyl came back this year is amazing.
And quite frankly, it seems a lot more convenient and a lot more conducive. Like a lot of cars still have CD players in them. It makes a lot more sense. They hold, 80 minutes on each thing. So a double CD is four times what you can hold on a record. You can hold maybe 25 minutes aside, roughly.
I'm just curious if musicians, without physical matter, they make so much less of the music, and it's so much cheaper to send the music. I really don't understand how streams work. Like, where are they making their money? So, Record Store Day is more of like a fun way to support your favorite band, really unique shit. But, like, apparently you can make money just streaming it all the way.
I don't think you make money streaming, and I think that's the issue. Not to mention you're supporting record stores, local businesses in your community, which have kind of gone away with this shift to online. You can try out everything. Remember the record stores or the CD stores that let you try and listen to the album before you bought it? That was such a crazy notion. Now, at midnight, automatically downloaded onto my phone is the latest album coming out that day. I'm listening to it before I even go to bed that night, instead of having to wait until go to school the next day and then wait till after school and go to the mall and pick it up on a Tuesday, no less.
Well, it's cooler for me because at 9 p.m. I get your 12 p.m. So I'm listening to it before I have to wake up again and listen to it. Yeah, I agree. It's totally a different vibe about how you acquire the new music and the effort you have to put into it.
Yeah. So Record Day supports your local businesses. It supports the bands. It's a way of supporting the local businesses, and it's building a community, face-to-face interaction with people, which certainly is something that needs to be done.
Right. So Record Store Day is this coming weekend, Saturday, September 26th.
Yeah, and there's another one in October, I think the 24th.
Are they still doing the Black Friday one in November?
Yeah, that's what I understand. So 4 Record Store Days in a row.
I won't be getting a record player anytime soon, though.
Yeah, that's actually good because there's too many people as it is. I mean, I feel recently I'm kind of a little bit down on Record Store Day. I mean, everything crowds in, stores open early. I think the store I went to opened at 8 o'clock. I got there at like 7:25. There's 60 people in line in front of me. They have bagels, coffee, and donuts. And
this is amazing.
I went in and I got like one or two records. I got 2 records that I was like, I got them. It's Record Store Day. And then later there were 2 others that I was like, oh, maybe I'll get this. And that's the thing about Record Store Day. It makes you want these records. You're like, oh my God, this John Coltrane record sounds amazing. I have to have it. There's only 2,000 of them. And then you end up disappointed and you're like, why? There was no reason that I wanted. Well, I'm sure it's an amazing record. So yeah, the last time by 10:30, Record Store Day is over and nobody's even in the store. So I'm glad Record Store Day got people back into the stores and made them think about going back into the store. But quite frankly, I was a little bit disappointed. And, it's only a third coming out in August. It's the same number of 300 or 400 records that would have come out in April, but they're all being split up over 3 weeks. So 1 month might be much better than the other for your tastes. And so I got home after the one in August, and I was like, oh, man. And then suddenly I found out Morphine's first 2 records were on vinyl. And so I got it directly from the record label that put it out. And, maybe that's the new record store day is, the next level is you go directly to the label. For real, man. There's this one metal band. This band called Squalus. They're from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
And they did an album. It's fully true metal. It's a concept album. It's the retelling of the story of the movie of Jaws. Most of the lyrics are direct lines from the movie Jaws. Mm-hmm. Crazy heavy metal. Instead of two guitarists, they have 2 bassists and keyboards and drums. And it's sick. And the vinyl that I got, it's a record about Jaws. So it's clear vinyl with blue splashes and highlighted Jackson Pollock style of red. So it's red splatter and the blue water on the clear vinyl. It's just amazing. Got it directly from the record company. So I know that bypasses the stores. It's tough for stores, man. The selection, they can't have everything. Anyway, man, I don't know where we've gone. Record store day, pro or con. I'm pro because it's
awesome.
It's cool records.
Totally.
There are some downsides.
So, jobs for your friends, man. Like where are the nerds who are gonna hang out at a store and talk about music all day and give you guidance and tell you what shows to go to and run the podcasts and write the blogs that tell you where to be. So yeah, yay! Record store day.
Yeah. So, us at the New Dad Rock, we salute you, and I hope you at least explore some vinyl. You don't have to buy a record store day release. You can just go to the record store. The last record store day I went there, like I said, 10:30 in the morning. Stores are empty. Go in.
I thought you said there were croissants, right?
They were cold by that point.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to the New Dad Rock.
And check out your local record store and have a croissant.
TNDR, baby!
So thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy Record Store Day. We're the New Dad Rock.